Velletri, Italian, velêtri, Latin, velletri, Volscian, Velester, is an Italian commune in the metropolitan city of Rome, approximately 40 kilometers to the southeast of the city center, located in the Alban Hills, in the region of Lazio, central Italy. Neighboring communes are Rocca di Papa, Lariano, Cisterna di Latina, Artena, Aprilia, Nemi, Genzano di Roma, and Lanuvio. Its motto is, Est mihi libertas papalis et imperialis. Velletri was an ancient city of the Volsci tribe. Legendarily, it came into conflict with the Romans during the reign of Ancus Marcius, the fourth king of Rome, then again in the 5th and 4th centuries BCE, during the early Roman Republic. Velletri was also the home of the Octavii, the paternal family of the first Roman Emperor Augustus. In the Middle Ages, it was one of the few free cities in Lazio and central Italy. It was the site of two historic battles in 1744 and 1849. During the Second World War, it was at the center of fierce fighting between the Germans and the Allies in 1944 after the Anglo-American landing at Anzio. Today, Velletri is home to a circuit court and a prison, in addition to several colleges and high schools. It is the terminus of the Rome-Velletri Railway, inaugurated by Pius IX in 1863, and is one of the centers the Via Appia Nuova, modern Appian Way, passes through. The territory of Velletri stretches between two distinct areas. The northern part is situated on the southern foothills of the Colli Albani range and was geologically formed about 150,000 years ago, after the collapse of the volcano Laziale, caldera. The southern boundary forms around pontine marshes, whose reclamation started at the time of Pope Pius VI and was accomplished during the regime of Benito Mussolini. According to the classification given by the Geological Survey of Italy, much of the territory consists of ground-type LPS, or paleosols. The rest is mainly composed of soils LP, lapilli, argillificate, mafic, and lucite and alcimizada. The seismic classification of Velletri's territory is Zone 2, medium-high seismicity. The territory of Velletri collects water runoff from many streams. These streams, most of them torrential in character or small in scale, are known as fossi. Main fossi include Fosso Manella at the edge of the municipal area to Genzano di Roma, near the Velletri frazione of San Giorgio. This stream originates from Monte Spina, elevation 731 meters, 2,398 feet, above sea level, in the territory of Nemi, with the name of Acqua Lucia. It is named after the Manila Bridge on State Road 7, via Appia Nuova, and originates at 405 meters, 1,329 feet, above sea level, at the foot of Col degli Almi. Manila also runs parallel to the Fosso del Tre Armi, which then connects to it. Fossa Santa Giorgia, originating from Col degli Almi, it goes through the village of the same name, located at 238 meters, 781 feet, above sea level. Fossa Paganica, which originates from springs on Col Caldaro, 467 m, and on Col Tonda, 596 m. Fosso di Ponte Veloce, which arises from Col Tonda, on Mascio dell'Artemigio, 812 m, and in the Facciolone Forest, 615 m. This watercourse near Villa Borgia superseded the old town of Velletri, changes name to Fossa Farina near the iron bridge of the Roma-Velletri Railway. Fossa Anatolia, originating from Col Bello, 600 m, it flows at the foot of Old Town Velletri, until it joins the Fossa Farina. Other water sources include the Acqua de Ferrari, at 650 meters, 2,130 feet, underlying Monte de Ferrari, 886 meters, 2,907 feet, above sea level, at Rocca di Papa, from which is part of the municipal water supply. The Old Town's altitude is substantially uniform from the elevation of Piazza Giuseppe Garibaldi at 339 m above sea level, the square of the Trivium at 332 meters, 1,089 feet, above sea level, and Napolitana at 329 meters, 1,079 feet, above sea level. The area west of the walled city is a bit higher at San Lorenzo, reaching 372 meters, 1,220 feet above sea level. The remainder of the territory to the south and west is basically flat except for small hills that do not exceed 300 meters, 984 feet above sea level. The climate of Velletri is mild, due to the Tyrrhenian Sea not being far, and to the protection offered by the Alban Hills and Mount Artemigio in the north. The climate is very rainy, with an annual average of 1,400 to 1,500 millimeters, 55 to 59 in, precipitation, making it the rainiest city of Lazio and one of the most rainy cities in Italy. Humid currents from the southwest facing the Mont Artemigio condense all the rain on Velletri, leaving clouds restricted to the northern side of the Colli Albani. It snows rarely. Climate classification, Zone D, 1544 GR/G. Atmospheric diffusivity, average. The Latin term for swamp was velêa, corresponding to the Greek omicron upsilon epsilon lambda iota alpha, velêa. From this root came the place name Velestrum. The place next to a swamp or marsh was probably used by Volsci to call Old Velletri. The Romans named it after the same city Velitrae, hence the Greek omicron upsilon epsilon lambda iota tau alpha iota, Velitrae, omicron upsilon epsilon lambda iota tau alpha, Velitrae, or beta epsilon lambda iota tau alpha, Velitrae. In the Middle Ages, at least 6 naming variants, Velletrum, Velitrum, Velitrae, Velitrum, Velitrae, Velitrae, are attested by various official acts until the 11th century. Until the 18th century, Velletri survived as parallel forms of velîtri and velîtri. During his reign, 642 to 617 BC, Ancus Marcius, the fourth king of Rome, came into conflict with the Volsci because the latter plundered Roman territory. He besieged the Velletri, which was a Volscian town. The elders of the town surrendered and promised to make good the damage they had done and agreed to deliver up the guilty to be punished. Ancus Marcius concluded a treaty of peace and friendship. In 494 BC, a war between Rome and the Volsci broke out. The Roman consul Aulus Virginius Tricostus Caelio Montanus was sent to fight the Volsci. He defeated them and pursued their enemies beyond it to Velitrae, where vanquished and victors burst into the city in one body. More blood was shed there, in the promiscuous slaughter of all sorts of people, than had been in the battle itself. A very few were granted quarter, having come without arms and given themselves up. The Volsci were deprived of the Veliturnian land, colonists were sent from Rome to Velletri and a colony was planted. In 492 BC, while the Volsci were affected by an epidemic, the Romans increased the number of colonists at Velletri and sent out a new colony to Norba, in the mountains, as a stronghold for the Pontine country, which was a Volscian area near Velletri. According to Diodorus Siculus, the Romans increased the number of colonists in the city known as Velletri in 404 BC. In 385 BC, during another war between Rome and the Volsci, the Roman colonists from Circeii and Velletri provided a contingent which fought alongside the Volsci. The Romans found out about this because there were men from Velletri among the prisoners they captured in a battle they won against the Volsci. They were sent to Rome and questioned. This in no uncertain terms laid bare the defection of their respective peoples. The colonists sent envoys to Rome to clear themselves of the charge of joining in the Volscian War and to ask for the release of the captives, that they might punish them in accordance with their own laws. Their request was denied. They received a rebuke and an order to leave the city. In 382 BC, 2 of the military tribunes with consular power for that year, Spurius and Lucius Papirius, marched on Velletri. They won a battle near the town in which auxiliaries from Praeneste almost outnumbered the colonists. The enemy took refuge in the city and the tribunes abstained from attacking the place. They were not certain of succeeding, nor did they think it right to aim at the extermination of the colony. In 380 BC, the Romans stormed Velletri and then moved on to fight other enemies. In 370 BC, the colonists of Velletri made several incursions into Roman territory and also besieged Tusculum. The Romans drove them from Tusculum and besieged Velletri. The siege lasted until 367 BC when Marcus Furius Camillus, after defeating a force of Gauls which had encamped near Rome, captured the town, which surrendered without a struggle. In 340 BC, the Latin cities federated in the Latin League, which had been an ally of the Romans, rebelled in what had been called the Latin War, 340 to 338 BC. They were joined by the Campanians, the Volsci, and the Roman colonies of Signa and Velletri. After 2 years of fighting, Rome defeated the rebels. Velletri was punished harshly. Her walls were demolished. Her senators were exiled beyond the river Tiber, that is, they were interned in a foreign land. The Tiber was the border between Latium and Etruria. It was decreed that if a Veliturnian senator crossed this river, his redemption should be set at 1,000 pounds of bronze, and that he who had captured him might not release his prisoner from bondage until the fine was paid. The town was repopulated with colonists who were settled on the lands of the senators. Livy recorded that in 332 BC no Roman citizens were assessed in the census of that year and registered into two new Roman tribes, local administrative districts where Roman citizens were registered. These two new Roman tribes were the Moesia and Scaptia. According to Cornell and Oakley, Velletri and Lanuvium were incorporated into the Scaptia and Moesia respectively, thus obtaining Roman citizenship. During the Roman period, several patricians built several villas in Velletri. Inscriptions recorded that the city had a basilica, an amphitheater, and a theater. Livy noted that the city had the shrines of the gods Apollo and Sangus. Velletri was also a noted center for wine production. Suetonius wrote, "There are many indications that the Octavian family was in days of old a distinguished one at Velletri, for not only was a street in the most frequented part of town long ago called Octavian, but an altar was shown there besides, consecrated by an Octavius. This man was leader in a war with a neighboring town. This was the family of Rome's first emperor, Augustus. Augustus was born at the Ox Head, a small property on the Palatine Hill in Rome, but spent his childhood in Velletri." Suetonius wrote that a small room like a pantry is shown to this day as the emperor's nursery in his grandfather's country house near Velletri, and the opinion prevails in the neighborhood that he was actually born there. Velletri began to decline after it was sacked by Alaric the Goth in 410 CE. It was the seat of a bishopric and, in the following century, it became an imperial city after the Byzantine reconquest of Italy. The first information about Velletri in the Middle Ages is dated 465 by Adiodato, the bishop of the city. Between the 5th and 6th century, the Velitrae diocese became increasingly important. In 592, Pope Gregory I brought together the diocese of Trace to Berni in Velletri. In the 10th century, Velletri fell under the rule of the Counts of Tusculum, 981. The entire area of the Alban Hills and the Monte Prenestini was dominated by the Counts of Tusculum, including the fortress of Lariano next to Velletri. In 1084, Robert Guiscard marched against Rome and passed through Velletri, meeting resistance from residents, who were rewarded by the Pope in 1101, with a breed that gave very broad boundaries to the Velitrae community. In the 13th century, Velletri was administered in the form of a republic. It was governed by the Great Council, composed of consuls, who were then replaced by a council of novemviri, 9 men, a mayor with supervisory functions, constables who were military leaders, and a podesta who had judicial duties. Pope Alexander IV, 1254–1261, former bishop of Velletri, ordered during his pontificate to bring the relics of Velletri holy martyrs Pontia and Eleuterio to be preserved in the crypt beneath the cathedral. In 1342, Nicola Caetani besieged Velletri. However, the city resisted until the arrival of reinforcements from Rome. In exchange for this help, the city had to undergo the appointment of a mayor appointed by Rome. This kind of vassalage lasted until 1374 when, following an agreement, the podesta would be elected every 6 months. First 4 times the choice would be directly ratified by the Romans. In 1353 the Trivium Tower was opened. It was a symbol of the city of Velletri. In 1408, Ladislaus of Naples occupied Velletri during his attempt to conquer the Papal States. In 1434, during the struggle against the Colonna and Savelli families, Pope Eugene IV razed the castle of Lariano with the assistance of 800 Velitrae soldiers. The land of Castellana was granted to Velletri, and remained merged with Velletri until 1967. On April 21, 1482, during the Salt War between Pope Sixtus IV and Ferdinand of Aragon, 500 Velitrae soldiers, 250 of whom were considered to be among the best Italian archers, fought with the papal army of Roberto Malatesti in the Battle of Campomorto, in a marshy area next to the territory of Velletri, now in the town of Aprilia. The Pope won and the Velitrae were rewarded for their faithfulness by the Holy See. In 1512, Velletri was still an independent city-state. The city government was administered by the Priora, which had replaced the novemviri. In November 1526, a contingent from Velletri sent by Pope Clement VII contributed to range the castle of Marino, a fiefdom of the Colonna family, who at the time were enemies of the Pope and allies of Spain. Following this, Ascanio Colonna, the Lord of Marino, sacked Rome of May 7, 1527. The Pope was imprisoned in Castel Sant'Angelo, forcing Velletri to pay 15,000 crowns in municipal lands, 12,600 crowns in installments, and provide more than 6,000 rovii lime and 15,000 tiles to repair the damage done to Marino. Mercenaries of the colonnas took up lots in Velletri. In 1589, Pope Sixtus V dissolved the civilian government, but Pope Gregory XIV ordered the reunification of the two powers, papal and civilian, in 1591, thus sealing the definitive end of the free municipality. In the War of the Austrian Succession, 1740 to 1748, the troops of the Spanish Neapolitan Bourbons won the Battle of Velletri, fought against Austrian Habsburgs in Velletri and its surroundings. After the French Revolution, Velletri rebelled and it was proclaimed a republic. Later it changed sides and 900 of its citizens resisted in Castel Gandolfo, the siege by Joachim Murat. The republic lasted until 1814. Garibaldi won a battle with the Bourbon Neapolitan force at Velletri, but the victory was short-lived as the Roman Republic was overwhelmed soon after this. A telegraph line reached Velletri in 1856. In 1866, Pope Pius IX opened the Roma-Velletri Railway, the third rail of the Papal States and one of the first in Italy. This helped the growth of the town even after the transition to the Kingdom of Italy. In 1913, the Tramvie dei Castelli Romani tram line reached Velletri, connecting it directly to Rome and the rest of the Castelli Romani area until 1953. In 1927, the fascist regime instituted the National Grape and Wine Festival, which is still celebrated today in October. In the last days of May 1944, Velletri was at the center of the conflict which followed the Anglo-American landing at Anzio, January 22, 1944, during the Second World War. While the Gustav line at Cassino and the Hitler line at Pontecorvo were falling to the enemy, the Germans created a third fortified line, the Caesar line, which stretched between Torvianica, Lanuvio, Velletri, Artena, and Valmontone. The 1st Division paratroopers of the Wehrmacht was stationed at Velletri. The U.S. General Mark Wayne Clark ordered the May 25 offensive against the Caesar line, facing strong resistance. The 36th U.S. Infantry Division, commanded by General Fred Walker, spotted a flaw in the German defenses on Mount Artemigio between Velletri and Valmontone. Between 30 and May 31, 1944, the 142nd and 143rd Regiments penetrated the German defenses at Monte Artemigio, and on the June 1 Velletri fell, followed the next day by Valmontone, and on June 3 Lanuvio and Castelli Romani. Velletri, among its most important monuments, were virtually destroyed. The Tower of the Trivium at the Palazzo Comunale and Palazzo Genetti were never rebuilt. Despite the evacuation order of German military authorities, there were civilian casualties. The rebuilding of Velletri continued despite a devolution in 1967 granted independent municipal status to Lariano. The suburbic area of Velletri Segni was created. New schools and cultural centers were built. The new seat of the tribunal, the Cadets Battalion Anzio of the Carabinieri, the Regiment of Cadets Brigadier Marshals, and new prison were established. In 2000, the new library called Biblioteca Comunale Augusto Dersenghi was inaugurated. Here were also the opening of the Teatro di Terra, 1995, the reopening of the Ugo Tognazzi Theatre, and the restoration of the Civic Archaeological Museum and of the Diocesan Museum. On June 14, 2001, Mario Pepe of the Chamber of Deputies presented a bill on the establishment of the province of the Castelli Romani with Velletri as its capital. In the proposal, the following municipalities would be part of the new province: Albano Laziale, Anzio, Ardea, Orecchia, Artena, Carpenito Romano, Castel Gandolfo, Cabe, Colleferro, Colonna, Gavignano, Genazzano, Genzano di Roma, Grottaferrata, Lanuvio, Lariano, Marino, Monte Compatri, Montelanico, Monte Porzio Catoni, Nemi, Nettuno, Olivano Romano, Palestrina, Pomezia, Rocca di Papa, Rocca Priora, San Cesario, San Vito Romano, Valmontone, Velletri, and Zagarolo. Velletri was chosen as the provincial capital because of its central position, which confirmed the role and the strategic importance of Velletri. The budget allocated to the province, once established, was 460 million lire. On September 23, 2007, Pope Benedict XVI, who as Cardinal Bishop had the title of Velletri Segni, visited Velletri, celebrating a Mass in Piazza San Clemente. The Velletri Cathedral, or Cathedral of St. Clement, was erected in the 4th century over the ruins of a pagan temple. It has 3 naves and was rebuilt in the current form in 1659 to 1662. The Renaissance portal is by Traiano da Palestrina, 1512. The interior has several frescoes, while the Capitular Museum houses important relics, vessels, and paintings including works by Gentile da Fabriano and Antoniazzo Romano. The bell tower of Santa Maria in Trivium, erected in 1353 in Lombard Gothic style, in gratitude for the liberation of the city from a plague that devastated it in 1348. Symbol of the city: Holy Savior Church, San Michele Arcangelo Church, Saint Martin of Tours Church, Santa Antonio di Padova Church, San Francesco d'Assisi Church, San Lorenzo Church, Most Holy Peter and Bartholomew Church, Santa Chiara Church, Santa Teresa Church, Santa Antonio Abate Church, San Crispino Church, Church of the Chaplet Church, San Silvestro Church, Madonna della Neve Church, Oratorio di Santa Maria del Sang, Santa Trinita Church, Santa Apollonia Church, San Giovanni in Plages Church, San Giovanni Battista Church, Saint Mary of the Garden Church, Santa Maria degli Angeli Church, Holy Cross on Mount Calvary Church, Saint Stephen Church, Santa Maria del Carmine Church, Regina Pacis Church. There are numerous public fountains in Velletri, some of them monumental. They are all served by the city aqueduct, which was built in the 17th century by the engineer Giovanni Fontana. The aqueduct was destroyed during a war in late 1744 and repaired by the engineer Girolamo Romani in 1842 to 1845. Notable fountains are: Fontana di Piazza Giuseppe Garibaldi, was built around 1912. Fountain of Piazza Benedetto Caroli, built in 1622. Notable buildings are: Piazza Giuseppe Mazzina Fountain, built in 1612 to a design of the architect Massimiliano Bruni. Its travertine fountain depicts mythological scenes. The Palazzo Comunale, town hall, with a portico entrance, was begun in 1572 by Giacomo della Porta to a design of Jacopo Barazzi da Vignola. It was finished in 1741 by Filippo Brigioni. It was the seat of the priors, or ruling authorities, of Velletri and the Great Council. The first stone of the new building was laid on January 26, 1575. Completed in 1590 and destroyed in 1944, the palace has now been substantially rebuilt true to the original project. Palazzo Vecchio, begun in 1822 as the seat of the delegation of Velletri. In 1870 it became the Palazzo della Giustizia, the seat of the courts. It was damaged in 1944, and it has been rebuilt following closely the original layout. Palazzo Teruzzi, Palazzo Borgia, Palazzo Alfonsi, Palazzo Corsini. When Velletri was a Volscian town, it was surrounded by massive walls. However, they were razed to the ground in 338 BC as a punishment after the final Roman conquest of the city. The walls were not rebuilt until the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, Velletri was surrounded by mighty castle walls which originally had 6 gates: Porta Fura, Porta del Pond 1, Porta Santa Martina, O Portella, Porta Lucia, Porta Romana, and Porta Napolitana. In the 16th century, the city strengthened the walls by closing certain gates and keeping only 3 of them: Porta Lucia, Porta Napolitana, and Porta Romana. They were: Porta Napolitana, which was built in 1511 by laborers from Lombardy. It has survived virtually unscathed to this day and now houses the local branch of the AIS, Italian Sommelier Association. Porta Romana was rebuilt in 1573 to a design by Jacopo Barazzi da Vignola, near the bastions of the town. However, during extension works on the Appian Way, the gate was destroyed and was replaced by the Blocco di Porta Romana, a customs post, and then the current Piazza Giuseppe Garibaldi. The War Memorial, designed by Emanuele Canigia, was inaugurated on June 2, 1927 and before King Victor Emmanuel III. It is located in a corner of Piazza Giuseppe Garibaldi. The Oreste Nardini Civic Archaeological Museum of Velletri has noteworthy works from proto-historic to the medieval period. The existence of a Roman amphitheater in Velletri is attested to by a curved area adjacent to the town hall and an inscription found in the 1565. The bronze sheets of Velletri was found within the structure of the Church of the St. Francis in 1784. The finds are kept at the National Archaeological Museum of Naples. The site of the Villa degli Octavii, suburban residence of the gens Octavia and Augustus, the only Roman villa at the Velletri area, was identified outside the village of San Cesario. Carefully excavated, they have found evidence of the existence of 15.05 x 13.20 and 3-nave Roman cistern of the Republican period. It is unique because it had pointed arches and a mosaic. The area currently is private property. Another Roman cistern was discovered in 1982 along the ancient route of the Appian Way in Campana Murata. The main urban green area is the Giardino Comunale, municipal garden, in Via Orti Genetti. It previously was the Villa Genetti and the Genetti allotments, Orti. There are other green areas, the recently restored Gardens of St. Mary, in the suburbs towards Nettuno, which has an ice skating rink, fountains, and a bar, and the Muratori Park. The official language of velêtri is obviously Italian, while the Veleterno dialect, called Velitrano, is more commonly spoken. It is distinguished from neighboring dialects of the Castelli Romani area and the Roman dialect because it is more akin to the Ciociaro and Neapolitan dialect. The Veleterno dialect is often unintelligible for those who do not normally speak Italian. It is characterized by a predominance of the Vallolo and Neapolitan expressions such as nanny for a father, and dead for dead. The first dictionary of the Veletrano dialect was published in the 1980s. Court of Velletri, in Piazza Giovanni Falcone, is the second most important court of Lazio, preceded only by Rome. Velletri Prison, in the district Lazzara, it is a maximum security prison which housed Filippo Papalardi and Angelo Izzo. The Regiment of Cadets Brigadier Marshals in Velletri Police. Commissariato della Guardia di Finanza of Velletri. Artemisia Teatro Terra. Association Committee Velletri South. Cultural Association Amaticella. Cultural Association for the Dance Terpsichore. Associazione Culturale University of Carnival. Italian Association of Sommeliers of Velletri. Associations Sbandieratori e Musici di Velletri, flag throwers and drummers. Association Pro Loco Velletri. Calliope Cultural Association. The Velletri Environment Spinoza. Velletri Motor Club. Lions Club of Velletri. Rotary Club of Velletri. The main public library in Velletri is the Biblioteca Comunale, Municipal Library, Augusta Tersenghi. It has several book collections assembled by individuals from the 18th century and is an integral part of SPCR, library system of the Castelli Romani. In 1999 to 2000, 10,090 children attended schools of all levels in the area of Velletri. Kindergarten, 1,346 members. Elementary schools, 2,656 members. Junior high schools, 1,773 members. High schools, 4,265 members. Consortium University of Velletri, 50 members. The first schools for children in Velletri had very old roots. The Conservatorio di Zotel per l'Educazione dell'Infanzia, Conservatory for Old Maids and for the Education of Young Girls, and the Istituto di Suore Orsoline, Institute of the Ursuline Nuns, were founded in 1690 and 1695 respectively. They merged in 1713 and continued to exist until 1870. The Maestre Pi Venerini teachers opened their house in 1744. An institute of the Brothers of Christian Schools was founded in 1836 and disbanded in 1850 due to lack of facilities. A primary school conjoined with the Royal Normal School was opened in 1874. A College of the Society of Jesus was established in Velletri by the papal bull of Pope Pius IX, Quat Divina Sapientia, on April 7, 1851. The Royal Normal School was established at Velletri by royal decree of September 23, 1872 to meet the need for better training for primary school teachers in the province of Rome. In 1891 the school was named after Clemente Cardinali, 1789 to 1839, an archaeologist and intellectual from Velletri. The Antonio Mancinelli Falcone Dante Institute of Further Education is the result of a merger between various educational bodies. It runs courses in the classics, languages, socio-psychopedagogy, and social sciences at high school level. The Giancarlo Valori Istituto Tecnico Industriale Statale is a technical school which was founded in 1960 as a branch of the Enrico Fermi Institute of Rome. It became autonomous in 1968. Since then it has had over 6,000 graduates. Today, it has 50 classes and 1,000 pupils. It offers courses in science and technology. The Istituto Tecnico Commerciale Statale Professionale Cesare Battisti is a college rather rooted in Velletri with courses in hospitality. The Istituto di Istruzione Superiore Juana Romani is an art school. There is also the Agricultural College in Via Ferruccio Pari. The University of Velletri established under the Suburbicarian See of Ostia. In 1150 it was merged with the Diocese of Velletri. With Ostia's severe loss of population, the university was moved to Velletri, where from 1817 it run humanities courses which led to degrees. Velletri is currently home to the University of Tuccia Faculty of Agriculture in Viterbo. The Oreste Nardini Civic Archaeological Museum has some substantial works, like the Velletri sarcophagus and sarcophagus of the Labors of Hercules. The museum is divided into two routes. The archaeological room is the heart of the collection, the sarcophagus of the Labors of Hercules, dating to the 2nd century and discovered in 1955, the Orontes plate of the 4th century, and the terracotta Volsci, discovered in 1910 are here. The Geopaleontological and Prehistory of the Alban Hills opened in 2005. It is a journey into the prehistory of the Colli Albani area. It is divided into 5 sections. Geology. A spectacular fire pipe leads the visitor into an environment that reproduces a volcanic eruption. Paleontology. Fossils are exposed and explains the fossilization. Anthropology. Human development from the first men on is explored. Prehistory. Human development before the discovery of fire. Protohistory. Explores the life of man before writing. Diocesan Museum. In the cloister of the cathedral contains works of art, which are especially important for their uniqueness. Among these are the 11th to 12th centuries reliquary crux Velitrae and the enamel works by Gentile da Fabriano, Lorenzo di Bicci, Antoniazzo Romano, Giovan Battista Rossetti, Francesco da Siena, Giuliano Finelli, and Sebastiano Comca. The cross or crux Velitrae is a gold filigree, i.e. a cross containing a relic of a fragment of the Holy Cross, with precious stones and cloisonné enamels placed on a base of silver and gilded bronze. On the front there is a fragment of Encolpion depicting Christ crucified, while towards the Agnus Dei is surrounded by anthropomorphic symbols of the evangelists. The cross was donated by Frederick II of Hohenstaufen to Pope Alexander IV, who, in turn, donated it to the Velitrae Cathedral. The Madonna and Child by Gentile da Fabriano is the only work the artist made during his Roman period, September 1426 to September 1427. The radio station Radio Delta Stereo Velletri has been on frequency 103.3 since 1976. Radio Mania is a radio station that broadcasts on frequency 88.2. The paid subscription newspapers of Velletri are Newcastle Today, with drafting in Piazza Caroli, and Il Messaggero. The various free local newspapers are Free News, The Voice of the Castle, and K-Point. Velletri has a well-established film tradition. In addition to several studios in the town in the early 20th century, there has always been at least one cinema. Helios Filme Studio was established in the town in 1900. In 1911 it released its film Dante's The Inferno. It was filmed entirely in the countryside in Velletri and at the Lake Giulianello. The Lazio Regional TV, with the daily news, TG Velletri Lazio, is located in Velletri. Velletri has 3 theaters. 2 of these are the Ugo Tognazzi Theater and the Theater of the Earth. Velletri has hosted a Philharmonic concert at the Palazzo Comunale since the 19th century. Festival of St. Clementi, November 23rd. Festival of Santa Maria del Grazie. The Paschella is held on January 5th. It consists of parade and period costumes. National Grape and Wine Festival, October. Festival of Camellias. These flowers which grow in the countryside have been celebrated since 1994 in March. Maticella Artichoke Festival, May. Palio del Decarsi. Velletri has been divided into 5 decarsi, singular decartia, areas equivalent to districts, since the medieval period. The name Decartia presumed to mean power of 10 from to the Greek words delta epsilon kappa alpha, deca, 10, and alpha rho iota alpha, archaea, power. However, currently there are 6 Decarci. The Decarci are Decartia Portella, Decartia Colasello, Decartia Santa Maria, Decartia Castle, Decartia St. Lucia, Decartia San Salvatore. The primary production in Velletri is wine and products of the surrounding agricultural region. In 1851, the wine production of the area was around 14,000 barrels, which was sold mainly to Rome. The territory of Velletri produces the following DOC wines: Velletri White, Velletri Bianco Superior, Velletri Red, Velletri Rosso Reserva. At the end of the 19th century, the Velletri Experimental Winery was opened by the University of Duscia. The varieties of Italian wine DOC Velletri produces are red and white wines from grapes that are limited to a harvest yield of 16 tons/hot. The reds are blends of 30 to 50% Montepulciano, 30 to 45% Sangiovese, at least 15% Cesanese, and no more than 10% of a mix of Bombino Nero, Merlot, and Cilieggiolo. The whites are blends of up to 70% Malvasia, up to 30% of a mix of Trebbiano, Verdecca, and Giallo, and up to 10% of a mix of Belloni and Bonvino. Velletri was a mandatory stop between Rome and Naples on the Grand Tour d'Italy. It attracts travelers to its museum collections, its architecture, and its natural environment. The Stadio Comunale Giovanni Scavo has a capacity of about 5,000 spectators and hosts its soccer team. The Stadio Comunale B is a smaller pitch, 105x60m, with a single stand with a capacity of about 500 people. It is a practice pitch for teams which play in the lower leagues. The sports hall hosts the city's basketball and volleyball teams. It opened in December 2008, and it is located in San Biagio. It has a capacity of over 2,000 spectators. It is used for the major domestic competitions, and is named after Spartacco Bandinelli, a decorated Olympic boxer. The multi-purpose gym has functioned as a multiple sports center for many years. It remains a major multi-sport facility where volleyball and basketball games are also held. It has a capacity of about 1,000 spectators. Augustus, Velletri, 63 BC, Rome, 14 AD, first emperor of the Roman Empire. Spartacco Bandinelli, Velletri, 1921, Velletri, 1997, boxer, silver medal at the 1948 Summer Olympics. Marta Bastianelli, Velletri, born 1987, cycling world champion. Elisa Blanchi, Velletri, born 1987, Olympic gymnast. Alessandro Borgia, 1682 to 1784, archbishop and historian. Stefano Borgia, Velletri, 1731, Lion, 1804, cardinal, and author. Alessio Cerci, Velletri, 1987, footballer in Italian Serie A. Marco Ferrante, footballer in Italian Serie A. Antonio Mancinelli, 1454 to 1505, poet and humanist. Veronica Olivier, Velletri, 1990, actress and model. Mirko Pagliarini, Velletri, 1975, footballer. Velletri is twinned with